Hey there, and thank you so much for watching. In this video, I'm going to share with you 7 things that I'm doing right now to help me reach financial independence faster. So if you're interested in learning more about that, keep watching. Before we get started, I ask you to please like this video. It's a huge help to me and my channel, and I would really appreciate it because it's a way to show your support that doesn't cost you any money at all. So for some context on me and where I am in my financial independence journey, I'm in my mid-30s. I work in marketing, and I live in the northeastern United States. Right now, I'm sharing a house with my mom, so we split the mortgage expenses and any utilities, and I buy groceries. So that's where I am as far as my financial situation goes. Something else that's a big part of my story is that I have been a chronic under-earner. I started my working career in sort of publishing, writing, editing, journalism, and that's a field that typically doesn't pay a whole lot. And I knew that starting my career, and as a result, I never really expected to make a lot of money. So I kind of had this unconscious belief that I would never be able to retire early or be financially independent, that I'd always have to work. And that's taken me some time to discover that belief was so rooted deep down inside of me. And I'm still in the process and continually in the process of unrooting that belief and believing that it is possible to achieve financial independence on any salary. There are so many examples of people who have never made a lot of money, yet still manage to live vastly below their income, save that income, and ultimately become financially independent and not have to work for a living. This is what I'm aiming to do, which is again why it's so important that I take control of the things that I can and take the steps that I can take in order to make my journey to financial independence that much faster. For me, this quarantine period, this shutdown, this lockdown time has really given me time to reflect on my financial game and clean out the corners, really tighten up my game, and make sure that I'm doing absolutely everything I can in order to achieve financial independence in the fastest way possible while still enjoying my life in the ways that I feel are financially responsible. So without further ado, here are the 7 things that I am doing to help me achieve financial independence faster. Step number 1, I avoid consumer debt like the plague. I do not carry a balance on any credit cards, and for me right now, I avoid using credit cards whenever possible. My personal rock bottom and the event that began my interest in personal finance was finding myself in $17,000 worth of credit card debt with an income of almost zero. I had just left a job and I had this giant pile of credit card debt that I had just wandered into, and it was kind of a wake-up moment for me. I realized if I wanted to have any type of solid financial future at all, I was going to have to wake up and take charge. This was again my rock bottom, and I kind of clawed my way out of that, dug myself out of that credit card debt, and today, as a result, I personally try to avoid credit cards whenever possible. I know that within the FIRE community, credit card hacking and points hacking is a big part of many people's strategy, and many people use that as a way to get free vacations, etc., and I am not knocking that at all. I think that's fabulous. If you do that, why not? But for me, at this point in my journey financially, that is not something that I can do. However, at some point, I would love to revisit that when I have kind of built up the ability to know my limits and not spend more than my means. And for me right now, that's not where I am. So to sum up, I just avoid credit card debt and carrying a balance across the board. Step number 2 is to ignore the negative noise. This is also known as ignoring the Joneses, not really paying attention to what other people say, and to not letting other people's journeys negatively influence your journeys. So this has kind of come out for me in a couple different ways lately. I'm not really someone that's influenced by what other people have, and I don't usually tend to covet what I see from other people. I am happy to let other people do their thing, and I do my thing. Especially when it comes to cars. I am happy to drive a 2004 Toyota Camry with close to 198,000 miles on it. I am proud to do that. I am not someone that's up on the latest tech gear or gadgets or fashion or things like that. I am happy to ignore financial advice from people who are not on the same financial independence path as I am, or people whose goals aren't necessarily the same as mine. However, in the beginning of my financial independence journey at the start of the year, I noticed some negative feedback from people within the financial independence community saying that I wasn't doing right and that I was never going to achieve financial independence. And I was like, really? Like, that's kind of hurtful. That kind of hurt my feelings. But ultimately, I was able to ignore that negative noise because it didn't serve me, and take on board the positive and make some changes in my life that may help me to achieve financial independence faster overall. So to sum up, ignore any noise that doesn't serve you in your journey to financial independence. Just take what you like and leave the rest. Step number 3 is to spend less than you make. This might sound simple and basic, but it is the foundation for achieving financial independence. Spend wildly less than you make, and you'll achieve your financial independence goals faster. This is just simple, basic math. Step number 4 is to pay yourself first. This is another one that's kind of basic, but I've recently started implementing for myself with kind of a new saving strategy. So what I've started to do is to gradually increase my savings amounts by very, very small increments. And I'm talking like $5, $10, $20 here and there. And I break up my larger savings goals into even smaller incremental savings markers. A big change that I recently made was to change the amount that I'm transferring into my savings account and break it down from a monthly amount into a weekly amount. That way I don't miss it as much. While I might miss $200 at the end of the month, I'm not necessarily going to be as affected by $50 weekly. So that is a huge way that I've changed my philosophy on paying myself first, as well as a way that I'm making sure that I am doing these little tiny things that will help me to reach my financial independence goals faster. Step number 5 is to buy and maintain income-generating assets. So just to review, an income-generating asset is anything that puts money into your bank account. So this is actually an interesting one for me because I was really convicted to start maintaining an income-generating asset that I had bought way back when and hadn't necessarily done anything with. So there are actually 2 income-generating assets that I'm working on right now, and unfortunately neither one of them is passive right now, but eventually they could become passive. The first one is a website domain. So about 3 years ago, I bought the wellbehavedwallet.com domain and got my Bluehost hosting set up and I built out this very small kind of rudimentary looking website. I don't like the way it looks right now, but I was convicted to actually start maintaining this asset because eventually down the road, this will become an income generating asset if I put the work into maintaining it, which is what I'm doing right now. So the only investment right now is my time, which I happen to have a lot of at present. So maintaining that income generating asset is something that I'm doing to achieve financial independence faster. Another income generating asset that I am maintaining is my eBay business. Again, that is not passive, but it does generate some income for me. So I have been sort of inspired to take more control over this asset and to put more energy into it in order to create more income that will ultimately help me reach financial independence faster. Step number 6 is to keep investing. This is actually really exciting because I have recently kind of taken charge of my investment portfolio. I don't know why I put it in air quotes because it's actually really serious. Again, coming from that under-earning mentality and mindset, I never thought that I would have any significant assets to manage, and as a result, I never learned how to manage them. So I actually do have a relatively small, I guess, investment account with my company. It's an IRA with John Hancock, and I just recently was motivated and inspired to actually log into the dashboard and to take a look at my investments and to actually become a participant in what my money is doing. Again, it's fairly small by general standards, but I am really excited to actually play a part in how my money is growing, to watch how my money is growing, and to actually have a say in how I think it might be growing better. So again, this is something that I am just learning how to do. It's pretty simple when you know what you're looking for, but I compared the fund that my money was currently invested in to the performance of other funds over a 1 year, 3 year, 5 year, and 10-year period, and I was like, well, the fund that it's in right now is kind of grossly underperforming the market. It was doing like maybe 4 or 5% when the market has returned like 11 or 12% over that comparable time period. And I'm thinking, well, why don't I just move the money to a better performing fund? And I was kind of chatting with a friend who was kind of walking me through this, and ultimately I made the decision to move my money from this underperforming fund that they just kind of defaulted all of my contributions to and put it into this fund that was kind of matching the market pretty closely. And I was like, well, why don't I just do that? So I did it. And I feel like that's ultimately having the knowledge to do that and kind of knowing how to compare fund performance and look at it over a longer time period will ultimately only be of benefit to me. So gaining that financial knowledge of how to keep investing and how to invest well is something that's new for me, something that's really exciting. And I know that this is a keystone habit in achieving financial independence faster. And step number 7 is another basic one, but is so very important, and that is to stay flexible. You never know what life is going to throw your way, for good or for challenge. And I know with unemployment rates hovering around 9-10%, that many people are facing either the loss of a job or the significant downsizing of a role and income. So it is so important to remain flexible and committed to your goal, but not necessarily your approach, and being willing to take a different approach as necessary. On the flip side, there are plenty of positive things that are happening. I know that demand for work and demand for certain services has grown tremendously. So being able to capitalize on that growing demand and staying flexible in the way that you create and receive your income is huge to ultimately achieving your goals of financial independence. So for me, this has really convicted me to stay open to new possibilities and potential increases in income that are coming up, as well as being prepared for any future challenges that may come as well. So those are the 7 steps that I'm taking right now to help me achieve financial independence faster on a relatively low income. If you have any questions, leave them down below. I'm happy to answer as I can. And as always, I thank you so much for watching, and I hope that you'll keep watching. Bye!